Einsam bist du sehr alleine. Aus der Wanduhr tropft die Zeit. Stehst am Fenster, starrst auf Steine, träumst von Liebe, glaubst an keine. Kennst das Leben, weißt Bescheid. Einsam bist du sehr alleine und am schlimmsten ist die Einsamkeit zu zweit. Wünsche gehen auf die Freite, Glück ist ein verhexter Ort, kommt dir nahe, weicht zur Seite, sucht vor Suchenden das Weite. Ist nie hier, ist immer dort, stehst am Fenster, starrst auf Steine, Sehnsucht krallt sich in dein Kleid, einsam bist du sehr alleine und am schlimmsten ist die Einsamkeit zu zweit. Schenkst dich hin mit Haut und Haaren, magst nicht bleiben, wer du bist. Liebe treibt die Welt zu Paaren, wirst getrieben, musst erfahren, dass es nicht die Liebe ist. Bist sogar im Kuss alleine, aus der Wanduhr tropft die Zeit. Gehst ans Fenster, starrst auf Steine, brauchtest Liebe, findest keine, träumst vom Glück und lebst im Leid. Einsam bist du sehr alleine und am schlimmsten ist die Einsamkeit zu zweit. Gehst durch die Straßen, hörst Musik. Hey, wer ist die eine? Wie der Schlag trifft es dein Herz. Zu zweit seid ihr nicht alleine.
Welcome back!
Welcome.
Hello and welcome to the final of your first semester.
Yeah.
The
We hope
conference
it's been
week.
a good semester and we're very happy to host your conference week.
We started this together and we're going to end it together.
Yeah. That's
And
Cornelius.
That's Farina, for those who joined after the opening week. And we have a full package for you prepared this conference week. We have 14 shows in 4 days. 14 shows in 4 days, that's a lot, Farina.
Yeah.
Do you have some examples of some guests maybe?
Yeah,
Or what is-
in the evening we're gonna have Richard David Precht and Maja Göpel often. On Friday we're gonna have Aminata, Touré and Aladdin Mafalani, and in between we're gonna have Michelle Friedman and Rob Hopkins tomorrow. And yeah.
And we have chickens.
Yeah.
Or we will talk about chickens in the show. So there's a lot of us lying ahead and we shouldn't waste any time. But
That's right.
We have to mention some more things.
Some things. For example, we're going to do this today and the rest of the week in entspannte Zweisprachigkeit. Entspannte Zweisprachigkeit, pragmatic bilingualism or bilingualism décontracté, as they say in French.
I didn't have French in school. I had Latin in school. So I
What's
could-
entspannte Zweisprachigkeit in Latin?
So the only sentence I can still remember from my Latin class was hic forum est.
Yeah.
So that's
I
basically
remember that
hic
one as
Leuphana
well.
est.
Yeah.
And that's all we need to know because that's where it happens, the magic. And
That's right.
talking about magic, can I give a glimpse on what
A
is?
glimpse. Yeah.
Because on Friday, it's like the Oscars of Lüneburg. We will be handing over the Salzkristall.
The Salzkristall.
We definitely need a sound when we open the store. But looking forward to that.
Great.
Exactly.
And now we're starting this opening with a little look back from Professor Sasha Spoon, the university's president, how he has been looking at the last semester.
Students can learn, what university means. University is different to high school. University is different to our other life. So it's very important to get acquainted with the manners, the methods, the contents, and the doubt. We are always doubting at university within the first semester. So this is in general. But the digital term is something very special. So you need to know, what does this mean if there is a hurdle? We have to overcome it. And this is what you learned. A second hurdle was there, and you've been successful. Successful in methods of digital communication, of digital learning, of, independence. So you are well prepared for what studies mean, to work for your own, but to be part of a bigger community. So, and we wish that you can be part of this community, not only in the virtual world, but also in the real one, and that you can experience it. The idea of studies is to have a start and to have a goal, an end. So, your degree, fortunately, is a couple of terms away. But in these days, the conference week, you can already conclude for a first time what this means to work within a study program with different questions, different courses, different professors. And the conference week brings this together, your work and your fellow colleagues' work. And this is important, that your work has an influence on a topic. And this year's topic is freedom and cities. So a new perspective for you, we hope, and for your studies. And it shows theory can be applied, but it's necessary to work on theory and to work with new methods to grow. And this is our wish for your studies, to grow. So good chance for the conference week. The pandemic challenges assumptions that we haven't been aware of. One assumption is that democracy is the best form to organize a state of living together. And democracy is so important because each of us has influence, has the possibility to express, has the possibility to vote, has the possibility to raise topics. So we have to be aware what this means given different circumstances. And there are debates if democracy is the right form. And we are convinced and we can experience this. And this gives you the basis to fight for democracy in the future. And democracy is linked with the idea of the cities for a very long time. Already, in ancient Greece, the polis, so the city, was the only place where debate, democracy, and the idea of the future was present. We know it was a very reduced democracy, but it was a root that we can rely on. And so the city has always been a place of freedom, of independence, where in the Middle Ages and today. So the city provides you with the possibilities to define your role, to think about what you want to achieve in your life, to contribute to society, and it brings together people from different regions, different backgrounds, and with different perspectives of life. So you can't experience what a city means in these days of the COVID-19 pandemic So it's even more important to think about it. And so we thought to bring together what you've worked on, sustainability, the digital formats, academic methods, the introduction in your specific discipline could be great combined within these questions. So we hope that you have also some fun work on these issues in a virtual way.
Thank you, Sascha Spoon. And one thing that is different to the opening week as well is that we have expanded our studio a little. You will now see me and my guests on the Beamer stage with the wonderful Lüneburg drawn by our graphic recorder Lou in the background. Here with me are Professor Matthias Barth, Professor for Education for Sustainable Development, and Dr. Steffi Hobus, Director of the Leuphana College. And we're going to talk a little about what does Conference Week do. Professor Barth, how many conference weeks has been there and how has it changed?
We're now in the 14th conference week. It's the first digital one, I have to say.
Here we go.
That is new, but we have quite some experience. So it's the 14th year we are in now. And obviously the whole conference and the idea how we do the conference has evolved over time, quite a bit. But I think what still remains is like the basic idea we had from the very beginning. So from the very beginning, basically two things have been very important for us. One is really to create a stage for students where they not only create knowledge over time, over the semester, but a stage that is worthwhile to showcase what they achieved in that semester and that they present their knowledge. So that is always one important thing. And the other has to do with the stage and is really to create an environment where it is fun and where it shows what academia is all about when you present such results. So this is to bring in other formats as well, to bring in experts, to bring in keynotes, after show parties, whatever you need for a conference and to make it a whole experience. Yeah. So this always was part of it, but obviously we learned over time quite a bit to make it better and better.
Okay, and we're trying to build all of that during this conference week as well. Steffi Hobus, maybe what's the bigger idea behind the conference week? Because we're often talking about the Leuphana semester and that it's very special, and then at the end there's this week. Yeah. And why?
Yeah, let's have a look at the whole Leuphana semester. At the beginning, students started with doing project work, first project work for first research-oriented part of their studies at the opening week, during the opening week in October. And now at the end of the Leuphana semester, there's the conference week, thus both building together the framework of the whole Leuphana semester, starting with projects at the beginning and now presenting their students presenting their results of the, especially from the responsibility module, but from their whole studies, bring things together and presenting the results to the whole university, the whole community at Leuphana College, the whole university. Yeah, now it's even easier by those digital means we are using now, and towards the into the whole university, into the community, into the whole city, and perhaps the whole republic.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to have a look at how students looked at the last semester and at the digital conference week.
In meiner Erinnerung war mein Leuphana-Semester erstmal ziemlich chaotisch und total überfordernd. Also man ist mit so vielen Themen gleichzeitig konfrontiert. Man soll irgendwie rausfinden, wie Studieren funktioniert, zig verschiedene Seminare.
Und dadurch habe ich mir oft Sinnfragen gestellt, wie, was soll das Ganze hier eigentlich? Warum muss ich das machen? Das hat gar nichts mit meinem eigentlichen Studienfach zu tun, was ich gewählt habe. Wie viel Zeit muss ich da jetzt überhaupt hinein investieren? Und das wird ja an anderen Unis nicht angerechnet, falls ich doch nochmal wechseln sollte, ist das nicht gerade totale Zeitverschwendung.
Gleichzeitig würde ich eben auch sagen, ein Stück weit darf das Studium auch eine Zumutung sein. Also ich glaube, also das ist eine lerntheoretische Überzeugung, die ich habe. Also wenn Sie wirklich was lernen sollen, muss eben auch was dabei sein, was Sie über Ihren bisherigen Radius hinaustreibt. Also Sie müssen irgendwie raus aus Ihrer Komfortzone.
Wer kann schon als BWLer sagen, er hat mal Kubi-Texte gelesen und sich da durchgekämpft?
Zum Studium gehört ja auch viel Selbstorganisation und ich finde, dafür war das Leuphana-Semester sowas wie eine Bewährungsprobe. Also so schlimm wird es nie wieder, keine Sorge.
Es ist ja nicht das Ziel, dass du von Anfang an nach dem ersten Semester alles kannst.
Für mich geht es auch darum, den Erstsemesterstudierenden einen Start in diese Universität zu geben und überhaupt ins Studieren, die halt abzuholen und die mitzunehmen.
Es sind wirklich Themen, mit denen man sich beschäftigt, die sind aus dem Leben gegriffen. Die sind nicht fiktiv und weit entfernt und sehr abstrakt und philosophisch, sondern die sind wirklich so, was beschäftigt eigentlich uns gerade? Was beschäftigt unsere Generation? Wo wollen wir hin? Was sind aktuelle Debatten? Und das ist unglaublich, unglaublich schön, dass man eben merkt, man kommt an einen Ort und da kommt es wirklich darauf an, was ich denke und was ich sage.
Das ist das, was, glaube ich, diese Universität so interessant macht, dass sie Studierende vom ersten Tag an ernst nimmt.
So, wenn ich drüber nachdenke, ziemlich cool, dass so Erstsemestern einfach die Chance geboten wird, so eine ganze Konferenz auf die Beine zu stellen und dort irgendwie die Hauptperson zu spielen.
Es bietet einfach diese unglaubliche Chance, diese fachübergreifenden Impulse mit den Inhalten des eigenen Fachs zu verbinden. Und daraus kann etwas Besonderes entstehen, das vielleicht an anderen Orten sich so nicht ergibt.
Aber viele BWLer, viele Lehrämtler, viele RechtswissenschaftlerInnen haben einfach nicht so ganz den Fokus auf ihre Interessen gesehen.
Ich würde sagen, das Leuphana-Semester bietet so einen breiten Raum, dass jeder was findet, was er wirklich spannend findet.
Ich glaube, dass die Leuphana durch das Leuphana-Semester und das Komplementärstudium auch relativ viele Studierende verliert. Nicht im Sinne von, dass die ihr Studium unbedingt abbrechen, aber verliert in dem Sinne, dass sie nicht mitziehen in dieser Idee.
Da würde ich aber auch wieder kontern und würde sagen, ich glaube, wir sind schon auch sehr committed darauf, dass die Studierenden entsprechend bei uns auch in die Tiefe gehen können. Die können ja zum Beispiel dann auch im Komplementär ganz bewusst wählen. Die können sich ja auch etwas verfeinern im Studiengang.
Gehen Sie mit einer Offenheit an neue Themen heran, zu der wir Sie jetzt ein Stück weit im Verantwortungsmodul oder insgesamt im Leuphana-Semester auch gezwungen haben. Weil sich das lohnt, glaube ich, wenn man versucht, den Blick immer wieder zu weiten und zu schauen, okay, was könnte denn nochmal eine andere Sichtweise auf das Thema sein, das ich glaube zu kennen?
Ich glaube, was eigentlich wichtig ist, dass die Studierenden auf welche Art, auch wie auch immer, das nutzen können für sich.
Das sind eigentlich wie kleine Schätze, die man dann immer dabei hat und die vielleicht irgendwann wieder nützlich werden. Und das hoffe ich, dass die für euch auch sowas sein können.
So that was not only good stuff about the Leuphana semester, but also some critical stuff. And Matthias Barth, I want to ask you now, what did you learn? Because you've been doing the conference week for years now. What was your learning and your team's learning process?
We really learned from these responses from the students. So I can relate to a lot of things, and they are critical, but in a good way. And because we want to bring them out of the comfort zone, and they brought us out of the comfort zone as well.
Yeah,
and I remember, like from the very beginning, we started, and I knew everything about the conference week because I sort of controlled everything. So we did it in a small team, and we planned everything from minute one to the very end, and that worked somehow. But it wasn't that exciting for students, I guess. So it really, I think the whole thing really took off in like year 3 or 4 when we decided to bring in students who already went through the Leuphana semester on board in the planning process. And we listened to the students who went through, and we gave them more options to participate and really to create their conference week. And that for me, in hindsight, really made the change. So now I don't know everything. I'm not sure what exactly is happening in the next half an hour, but that's okay. That's sometimes hard, also out of my comfort zone, but that's okay. And it makes it much more, to the heart and much more open and interesting for students, I guess.
Yeah. That's right. Everyone puts their effort into every minute, but not everyone knows about every minute. Maybe we can say it like that. And now we're having a very special conference week. Maybe Steffi Hobus, what can the students take out of that last digital semester?
Yeah, first I do emphatically agree to what Matthias Barth said before, and I think it's all what we're doing here, and especially in the digital mode, it's all about commitment, I think. And I think students can take that from that semester and from all our common experiences here, that it's all about commitment, that I think we learned that a lot of things that much works pretty well in the digital mode, and that's great, and we are very happy about that. And on the other side, everybody, I think, including the teaching staff, experience that it can be sometimes quite exhausting, though. Yeah. But I think it's worth. And then, what can students take from that semester? That it's all about commitment. I think all of us experienced how important is our commitment and our exchange, our personal exchange and our interactions, be it in the present, be it in the physically present, like the three of us here now, but in the digital mode as well. It's all about exchange, about personal exchange, about commitment, about interaction, and that's what we're going to do now in this conference week, though in the digital mode. But it's all about commitment. It's all about exchange and about getting things to fly.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's right, hopefully. And we chose a topic to have a focus on that commitment, and that is power to the cities. Why is it important that the conference week has a topic at all?
I think this is important in general for a topic, because it really helps to frame that sort of first semester experience. Students started in the starting week, in the opening week, with the future of cities, so they already engaged with that topic, and we want to show them, that there is a whole learning cycle and an experience. And now we are 15 weeks in since the opening week. And I think that is a good time to reflect how much they learned, and also how much they learned about cities. And in this couple of days, they will have the chance to learn more about cities and different perspectives on cities. Now, specifically when it comes to responsibility, power issues, to sustainability, where cities really play an absolutely crucial role.
Why is that? Why are cities important for questions of sustainability?
I think the future of sustainable or unsustainable development really gets decided in cities. More and more people living in cities, fast growing. The place, as Sasha Spoon already introduced it, the place where a basic democracy happens. Decisions are made that influence not only our life but the life of others as well. And there, lots of the ideas, what we see when we talk about transitions or transformations, they start in cities. These ideas we need really to come up with new ways of a more sustainable development.
Okay, thank you. And Steffi Hobus, because we're not only talking about sustainability in cities, we are talking about democracy in cities, participation. Why is it important at that certain moment of time to ask those questions?
I think it's an important point. These are uncertain times of uncertainty. I think it always can be seen that people are unsettled. People are unsettled, times are uncertain, and I think what people wish, many people wish, is certainty. Or people wish from politics and from sciences, they wish to being provided with simple measures and certainty that will help certain. And I think that's why the sciences and the humanities are so much debated in these uncertain times, because on the one hand people wish to get certain measures, simple certain measures, or people negotiate and neglect perhaps the role and the importance of science and humanities on the whole. That's on the other hand all those peoples denying the importance of science. And of course this is difficult difficult times, uncertain times, and that's why it's so important to discuss about democracy, about freedom, especially at a place like a university. A university is a place for freedom, and we are, all we at the university, we are, I think, professionals for kind of skepticism, for uncertainty, and it's so important, and it's worth, of course, some steps at the end. Of course, we all want to help for getting better futures and better ways of living together and all these topics. But in the first instance, at the first step, I think we have to deal with that uncertainty that's in the core of sciences, in the core of humanities, in the core of what we're doing at university. And that's why we're doing this. Because to make clear that it's so important, and that's the way or the mode that will help on the long run, that will help better, much better than simple measures and simple certainties.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Steffi Hobus and Professor Matthias Barth. Now that we know that it's not only about answers, but also about a lot of questions, I'm looking forward to an opening week, conference week, with asking many special people many different questions. But first, let's have another of those short films, please.
Wir sind im Jetzt. Und was da kommt, wird. Ist es neu? Ist es ungewiss? Ich weiß es nicht und das macht mir Angst. Vor Veränderung, so groß, so unfassbar. Unsicherheit. Nichts kann ich greifen, alles so ungewiss. Ich schwebe und weiß nicht, was kommt.
Morgens, mittags, abends und ich irgendwo dazwischen, Tag ein, Tag aus. Morgens, mittags, abends und immer noch das Gleiche, ich halt's nicht mehr aus. Morgens, mittags, abends, wo ist die Freiheit, der Geist, das Leben? Wofür das Gleiche, wenn meine Hände vor Aufregung beben? Morgens, mittags, abends, ich muss hier raus, muss tanzen, lieben, springen. Ich muss hier raus, um das Leben zu besingen. Morgens, mittags, abends, ich muss mich freien von der Enge des Gleichen, ich muss mich lösen, Stagnation darf der Freiheit nicht weichen. Morgens, mittags, abends, die Wände kommen näher. Morgens, mittags, abends, ich kann das nicht mehr.
Einsam bist du sehr alleine. Aus der Wanduhr tropft die Zeit. Stehst am Fenster, starrst auf Steine. Träumst von Liebe, glaubst an keine. Kennst das Leben, weißt Bescheid. Einsam bist du sehr alleine. Und am schlimmsten ist die Einsamkeit zu zweit. Wünsche gehen auf die Freite. Glück ist ein verhexter Ort. Kommt dir nahe, weicht zur Seite. Sucht vor Suchenden das Weite. Ist nie hier, ist immer dort. Stehst am Fenster, starrst auf Steine. Sehnsucht krallt sich in dein Kleid. Einsam bist du sehr alleine. Und am schlimmsten ist die Einsamkeit zu zweit.
Immer zu zweit, niemals alleine. Händchen halten durch die Stadt. Wir sind eins, eine Einheit. Und doch ist es genau das, was mich bedrückt. Immer zu zweit, niemals alleine. Sein Geist und mein Geist gehen Hand in Hand. Das macht mir Angst. Wo fängt mein Geist an und wo seiner? Immer zu zweit, niemals alleine.
Wir gehen ins Kino, Zweisamkeit. Wir sitzen da. War es seine Idee oder meine? Immer zu zweit, niemals allein. Wir mögen dies, mögen das, ich und du. Wir sind nicht eins. Doch wer bin ich und wer bist du ohne uns? Das kann ich nicht sagen.
Let's say how it is. We miss you.
Yeah.
We would love
That's
to
right.
have you here in our studio.
Yeah, and we're gonna have some students in the studio next days, but not 1,500, rather 6 all over the week.
But now is the chance to get 1,500 students into the studio. And for that, you see behind us Kahoot. So what you do is you go on www.kahoot.it. You can do that now.
Is that Italy, IT? Or is it because it's all about
It's
IT?
for It's Amazing, I guess. And then you type in the game pin, and we will wait for you here.
Yeah.
So to get your phones or your laptop or notebook or whatever you have next to you, and go on www.kahoot.it. And then you type in the game code. And that's a way that, oh wow, there are the first
Wow.
ones. Perfect.
Oh, there's a Joachim and a Joachim. That's great.
Yeah. So that is a way for us to engage with you, to welcome you in our studio, and to get really your ideas, your thoughts into our studio. So we have prepared, you don't have to wave to the
But
names.
I want to.
So that's how we get you into our studio, and we wait a little bit more because the number is rising and rising and rising and rising.
Okay.
And I want to see,
Hi Hannibal, hi Bob, hi Barry, hi Sarah.
I want to
hi
see
Gato.
1,500 there. We've bought this license for 5,000 people, I think.
So
we
get some friends on Kahoot.
get some
maybe
friends
as well.
on Kahoot. We will use this method a couple of times, as I said.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is like, we have problems with our back.
That's great.
This is wonderful. I'm feeling already like a bigger connection to you.
Yeah.
And we will wait a little bit more, and then we start right.
Karl Marx is there.
Yes. We can say that we have Karl Marx in our studio.
Dead or
Great.
alive, bring me Karl Marx.
Perfect. And while you type in and wait with us for the final till we start, you can already think of a song.
Mm-hmm.
A song that brought
Did
you...
I put my song on it, on the
Not
list
yet,
already?
but later.
Okay.
Because we will ask you for a song for your first semester, a song that brought you through your first semester, like a power song, song that is full of energy, and that you said, well, when I listen to this song, I know that's the right point
You
for
can
me
do
to study.
sad songs as well.
Yes. Don't leave Kahoot for that, because if you leave this app or the browser to look up a song in Spotify, for example, then it will close. So just stay with us here.
The whole is the whole studio like gonna go down?
The whole
when
studio
you're
is going to
leaving
melt
Kahoot
down. It's
now?
an automatic meltdown.
Yeah.
But you can already think of a song, and we will come to that in a couple of seconds. And I would say, when we've reached 672, we will start.
Can you like
600.
calculate how much % of the first semester students?
I
that
can.
is?
But let's do it later.
Let's not do that.
So 672, then we will start. This is like we are getting points here, right? Wow, nice. Now you're leaving.
Oh, that was a.
We're at 666.
No,
Ooh,
that's not
you're-
good.
don't leave for 666. There we go. And now we start. You can always come back into the game as well. You can see the point. And we will start. You can now see on your screen, you will see the question. Or multi-select, who wears the coolest outfit? A simple question to start with, a very simple question.
There's going to be a lot of fighting after this show.
Farina, Florian, sponsor of Square Grants, or Cornelius. On this side, you can see how many answers we've already collected. So collect now, you can see the names and then the symbol, and then you click on the symbol that you think has the coolest outfit. And then we see Farina.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's do this again.
Well, but they're very nice because
Yeah.
they gave you 12 and me 13.
I want to do this again, just to be sure. We do this question again, just to, for real, who wears the coolest outfit? For us, just to really be sure. Who wears the coolest outfit? Let's get this question done. Is it Cornelius? Then vote red. Or is it Cornelius? then vote blue. There's a timer, so you have to be quick.
Yeah. That's why we're talking about democracy this week.
Exactly. You have the option. You can choose. Wow. Yeah, Cornelius. I guess that's clear now. Thank you so much. We move on to the next question to see what we have.
Thank you.
And it's a true or false question. There are more than 10,000 cities worldwide, and we're only counting cities with 150 inhabitants. What do you think? Are there more than 10,000 cities worldwide with more than 150,000 inhabitants or less? And wow, do you see how the number rises? And we're already done. Wow, you've been so quick. So false. Yeah, and that's correct. It's about 4,000 actually. There are only 4,000 cities. The United Nations counted the cities, and there are only 4,000 cities in the world, approximately 4,000 cities, with 150,000 inhabitants. So that's what we've made. And then we get to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. And that's a word cloud. So just really simply.
What's your favorite city?
Just type in your favorite city. We just get to know Kahoot a little bit. So just type in your favorite city.
Is it Lüneburg already? That's a big question.
That's a big question too. You have 14 seconds left. Just type in your favorite city.
I'm going to bring my device the next day.
What's your favorite city?
Bologna and Hamburg, I'd say. Bologna.
Nice
because
choices.
of the pasta and because there's education, but not the Bologna reform, but Bologna, the city.
But now we see the answers in the back. So the most people said yes. That's good. You understand how Kahoot works.
Okay, maybe that's because of here T9, or as you call it today, autocorrection.
Probably autocorrection could be possible. And then we have Lüneburg, we have Hamburg, Stau auf der A1. Maybe not the nicest city to be, but we have different kinds. We have Stockholm as well. We have Digga kommt dir klar. I don't know this city, but there are some places that I definitely want to visit.
Lüneburg is very big. That is nice.
Lüneburg and Hamburg, perfect.
That's
and we
nice.
continue to the next question. What do you think is the most important sustainable development goal for cities? So sustainable development goals, Farina, maybe you want to introduce them.
Sustainable Development Goals, yeah, those are 17 goals that try to. Why do I have to introduce those now? We're going to do that tomorrow. Sustainable Development Goals, we're going to talk about those tomorrow with Professor Matthias Barth again, and there are 17 goals to make the whole world more sustainable, and it's not only about climate change, but about 17 different things.
But it's a good way to get a glimpse on what's important when talking about cities. And then we have Hamburg again. Interesting, okay. 13, we have the number 13, 7. And we continue. And we have a look on the SDGs later on. And now we want to schedule your day. So you can schedule your day for the next conference day tomorrow to already get an idea of what comes when.
I didn't know we could do that with a thing.
Of course, we have to have a look in the schedule and we have to have an idea on what is lying ahead of us. And I think you don't need 38 more seconds for that. So I would say we just 3, 2, 1, skip.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And there we see the answer. So project group sessions and workshops is obviously the first thing that is lying ahead of you. Then afterwards, at 1 p.m., the lunch show. Yeah. At 4, the keynote. At 5, the Zukunftsstadtmagazin. And in the evening, the Utopie Studio. We'll have a look on that later. And last question. And then we already in there. So we ask you for a power song. Because we want to make a conference week playlist on Spotify that you can follow. So type in, what is your favorite song right now? Your favorite song right now that brought you through the first semester, a power song, energy song. Just type in the name of the song and then the artist. And after the grand opening, we will select all those songs. We will have a look on them. And then we make an ultimate Spotify first semester playlist for you.
Cool.
And we will use the playlist also here in the studio. So we are really looking forward, and I'm excited what songs will be in there. Do you have a song?
I want to put, I thought about that. I want to put Hurra, diese Welt geht unter by Annemai Kantereit and is it Die Fantastischen Vier?
No, I don't know. No, I think it's... Now we need a
gonna find that out. I want to put Hurra, diese Welt geht unter on it and Fragile by Sting.
Good choices. Very nice. I'm not sure, do you know Leuphana Girl? The song?
Yeah, I remember that one.
I'm not sure if Leuphana Girl is on Spotify, but it's a really good song. You should look it up on YouTube. And we've got the answers submitted, so we will have a look at that later. But now you got an idea on how Kahoot works, and that's it for now.
Yeah.
And I would say, while we evaluate your playlist, we will have a look for another video.
Wir wollen heute mit euch ein kleines Experiment wagen. Dabei werden wir euch Fragen stellen bzw. Aussagen vorlesen und ihr müsst diese dann möglichst wahrheitsgemäß beantworten. Ihr beantwortet eine Frage mit Ja bzw. stimmt der Aussage zu, indem ihr eure Box verlasst und in die mittlere Box geht. Viel Spaß! Ich habe schon mal Tränen zurückgehalten, weil ich Angst hatte, von der Gesellschaft verurteilt zu werden.
Ich habe mich schon einmal nicht getraut, etwas Bestimmtes anzuziehen, weil es nicht meiner oder der gesellschaftlichen Geschlechterrolle entsprach.
Ich habe mich schon einmal dabei erwischt, dass ich davon ausgegangen bin, dass ein Mensch mit Migrationshintergrund eher kriminell sei als ein Deutscher oder eine Deutsche. Mir wurde schon einmal auf der Straße hinterhergepfiffen.
Ich habe mich schon einmal verpflichtet gefühlt, etwas zu tun, weil ich Angst vor Zurückweisung hatte.
Social Media hat mein Selbstwertgefühl negativ beeinflusst.
Ich war überrascht.
Es gibt bekannte
Es herrschte
Probleme,
eine richtige
gewisse
Anspannung im
Bildlichkeit.
Zimmer, als wir das gemacht haben.
Was machen die anderen? Meine Entscheidungen sind abhängig von
Es ist
ihren.
so ein Kompromittätsding.
Eindrucksvoll.
Ich habe an mir selber gemerkt, dass ich immer schon geguckt habe, was die anderen machen.
Ich denke in Mustern.
Ich habe mich generell sehr unwohl gefühlt und habe das voll an meiner Körpersprache gemerkt. Mit jedem Satz habe ich mich unwohler gefühlt.
Ich fand es sehr bedrückend, diese ganze Stille zwischen den Fragen. Und am schlimmsten fand ich so die Fragen, wo es darum geht, ob man quasi diskriminierend schon mal gedacht hat und ich dann alleine am Feld stehen geblieben bin und dann musste ich mich immer selber irgendwie hinterfragen, ob es wirklich so ist, dass ich nicht diskriminierend gedacht habe oder ob ich mir das nur einbilde. Und ich glaube, am schlimmsten fand ich das der Moment, wo alle Frauen in die Mitte gegangen sind beim Pfeifen, weil mir das irgendwie nochmal gezeigt hat, dass es irgendwie noch nicht wirklich ausgeglichen ist.
Und was ich einfach gelernt habe, ist, dass auch ich selber noch sehr viel, ich sag mal, zu verbessern habe. Und da muss ich einfach bei mir selber anfangen.
Dieses Experiment verdeutlicht, wie sehr wir in Machtstrukturen denken und leben.
Sie begleiten uns tagtäglich, oft stärker, als wir zugeben wollen.
Es zeigt, wie sehr wir doch Angst haben, von den anderen verurteilt zu werden.
Dies waren etwa 20 Menschen. Wie sieht es wohl mit 8 Milliarden aus?
And Stuart and I have made ourselves already comfortable here on the Leuphana stage, and you should too, because now we will welcome Ulrike Guérot here in our studio. She is a political scientist and also thought leading of the idea of a Republic of Europe. And I would say, hi Ulrike, nice to meet you. Moin from Lüneburg.
Hello.
So you have the word.
I have the word. So, thank you. Dear Rector Sascha Spoon, Rector of Lüneburg University, dear Richard David Precht, Spin Doctor of the Utopia Conference, dear Steffi Hobus, dear Sven Riebke-Prim, dear distinguished faculty, guests and students. I'm delighted to open the Future Festival of University Lüneburg 2021. I have been there 2 years ago. It was fantastic. And if I may say one thing, my song for your list is Mon Européen from Damien Zes. I can spell this out later, but I want to have my song Mon Européen.
Darf ich das Gespräch zwischen Stadt und Ulrike Guérot gleich?
Geht es nicht? Alles gut. I'm very thankful that the University of Lüneburg has framed the title of this keynote, The Town of the European Republic. This is fantastic as it alludes to my own utopian design for Europe. It provides me with the opportunity to describe how I see the upcoming relationship between Europe and its town in 2049, which is the year which I set as starting year of the European Republic. To stimulate you visually, you will see during my presentation in the background the poster of an initiative of 20 Italian mayors who decided to entitle in the real world their cities Città della Repubblica d'Europa. They have added Città della Repubblica d'Europa on their Ortseingangsschilder. So here we are. In some parts of Italy, the town of the European Republic is not in the future, it is in reality. I would love to see the town of Lüneburg reaching out to these Italian mayors and becoming the first German Città della Repubblica d'Europa. In this keynote, I will develop 4 aspects of the future town of the European Republic. Firstly, I will go back to what were the role of towns in the Middle Ages. Secondly, I will briefly talk about the research of Saskia Sasken from Columbia University and talk about the networks of modern towns. Thirdly, I will touch upon some architectural features of modern towns. And fourthly, I will focus on the political economy of rural-urban divisions and will sketch out some questions with respect to their governance. As this keynote will be uploaded as PDF with some literature, some references, and some charts, you can lean back and listen and print out the speech later. Let me start with some spotlights on the historical role of towns. Towns are where water is, rivers, lakes, or oceans. Paris, Vienna, Lyon or Prague, Marseille, Cologne or Hamburg are all water towns. The social strata of a town follows the wind, which goes east in Europe. This is why the bourgeoisie always lives west, whereas the dirty production places are east. Towns were the first embodiments of democracy, meaning public action in the Aristotelian sense. The ancient agora in the Greek world were marketplaces. The Republic of Venice or the Republic of Genoa were independent town governments. Freie Reichsstädte in Germany or the Hansestädte were actually not keen to integrate the Deutsches Reich of Bismarck. Until today, the official name of Hamburg is Freie Hansestadt Hamburg. Long before the invention of nation states or Flächenstaaten, towns had emblems and forged the core identity of their citizens. Towns were the entities in which the public sphere was developed. The kings and the Kurfürsten had their residencies in towns, whereas the churches often owned the countrysides and the lands. Towns were also the place where civilization developed, as Norbert Elias describes. The arts and the banking system, public baths, parks, theaters, or concert halls are all product of urban living culture. Each town had their noblesse. the Fugger of Augsburg, the Medicis of Milano. This accounts also for those towns called today secondary or tertiary towns, such as Brünn or Antwerpen, Würzburg or Bordeaux, Edinburgh or Gdansk. All have a feudal past, which makes their architectural beauty of today. Medieval ballot systems, town council or Schöffengerichte, were parademocratic or republican governance systems of the town bourgeoisie. Until today, freie Wählergemeinschaften, mostly liberal, are key to manage towns. Stralsund, for instance, has some 40% share of freie Wählergemeinschaften in local elections. Citizens care for their towns beyond and independently from parties. Lastly, but perhaps most importantly, towns were closed. There were citizens who had town rights and those excluded from the towns. The Gesindel, Ragtag, peasant, the mob, or the outlawed. Towns had town walls and water bridges to keep them all away. Merchants needed to pass towns through the city gate. Please remind this for the following. Network of towns are nothing new. The Hanse is probably one of the most exciting historical town cooperation along the Baltic Sea. Yet towns launching historical trade routes are equally important. For instance, the towns along the French route of commerce, the Champagne, or the towns along the Silk Road from Beijing to Belgrade. A line from town to town also forms what is called in Europe the blue banana, stretching from Amsterdam to Vienna, Trieste, and Bucharest. Columbia professor Saskia Sassen has shown in her research that modern towns have more in common than towns with their own hinterland. For instance, Sao Paulo, New York, and Amsterdam are tied together through coffee beans, which are collected in Sao Paulo, rated at the stock market in New York, and shipped to Europe via Amsterdam harbor. The economic basis of these three giant towns is coffee. Amsterdam, in economic strata, has more in common with New York than perhaps with Leiden. Glass fiber or broadband connections under the earth of the oceans link New York to London or Frankfurt, but not necessarily New York to Salt Lake City. Town networks follow the commerce routes and not country borders. Regional capitals like Munich, Dallas, or Barcelona have international relation departments and something like a foreign policy aside from their reciprocal state departments. Towns actually shape policies. It was quite a moment when some American towns like Detroit or Philadelphia announced to stick to the global climate goals of the Paris Agreement, whereas the Trump administration had withdrawn from it. Anne Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris, deciding on Green Paris, building velo streets and banning cars may do more for France's environmental policy than the French Minister for the Environment may. If you buy an electric velo in Paris, you get some €400 cash from the town administration. Towns will drive the transformation to climate neutral, digital, and sustainable future if we agree on the fact that sustainability is not a lure for ongoing consumption under different technological modalities and surfaces. Unfortunately, 15 minutes are not enough to discuss in detail whether smart is the new code for infantilization of humankind. That is what stunning Catalan philosopher Marina Garcés from University Zaragoza writes in her book For a New Radical Enlightenment. It seems as if the world has decided that a digitalized world is a better because smarter world. For the remaining 10 minutes of my keynote, I will stick to this assumption. Although I actually believe myself that digitalization and artificial intelligence is a technique to reinstitute patriarchat, control over women, in times where women claim too much power. Leaving aside the infantilization question, the town of the European Republic will be smart and digital. The town of the European Republic will have, as main architectural feature, a huge train station in its core. Railway stations will be the new airports in 2049. 1 year before Europe attains climate neutrality in 2050. The current pandemic triggered, as one of its consequences, the European Rescue Package from July 2020 worth 750 billion euro. Among other things, the money is spent to build a high-speed train net in Europe from Copenhagen to Budapest and from Hamburg to Barcelona. The European high-speed train net is the new European subway named Metropa. You take, for instance, the Metropa Line 6 and you go straight from Hamburg to Barcelona in 6 stations only. It is a pity that the European Commission could not bring together the consortium between Siemens and Alstom in 2019, building a European high-speed train, but perhaps things will still change. Flying taxis using solar energy will pick you up in 2049 from the railway station and bring you to your hotel, or a conductorless tram like in Zurich. At the hotel, an android will wait for you at the reception and lead you to the air-conditioned room, which you pay with the new cryptocurrency the ECB has been issuing in the years after the pandemic. Friedrich von Boris has designed, in a way, the future town of the European Republic in his book Weltentwerfen. If you want to get a first impression of this future town of the European Republic, I recommend you a trip to the 17th arrondissement of Paris, a former banlieue for workers, close to the Boulevard Clichy and very dirty. Emmanuel Macron has decided to move the offices of Palais de Justice to this shabby place and build an autonomous underground train to the 17th arrondissement. In addition, a completely new arrangement of housing blocks was built for the civil servants working at Palais de Justice with new energy-neutral construction material, mainly wood and glass, surrounded by green plants. None of these housing blocks look similar. They are all of different style, color, and material. The housing blocks got their supermarket and their park, a Japanese-style refugium, which with places for sports and for kids and some fountains, because the architects anticipated Earth warming. Some of the housing blocks have landing spaces for drones every 10th floor or so. This futuristic 70th arrondissement is an example of what Anne Hidalgo calls the 15 minutes town. Everything you need is available within 15 minutes, be that a bakery or a doctor. In some way, living in Paris or Barcelona or Berlin will be somehow meaningless in 2049. You never leave your keys. The 15 minutes town will be a horizontal network of kietzes or arrondissements in which the old town Paris intramuros is no longer the center. Metropolitan areas or agglomerations will no longer function around marketplaces, churches, or historical old towns featuring a castle or a prominent museum like the Uffizi, the Prado, or the Louvre. This will change the social strata. This new 17th arrondissement in Paris is posh and no longer a worker space like the old 17th arrondissement. Who will be in? The real question, similar to the Middle Ages, will be who is within the 15 minutes town and who not. Modern gentrification processes are pushing the working class people, migrants, and underdogs, which some already call the new feudal slavery class, ever more outside of the towns. The new political question thus might be who has citizens' right and who not. The question of the political linkage between the future towns of the European Republic and their surroundings might become the most important thing to look at in political science. Who cares for the countryside? Some science fiction novels push the segregation up to the fact that towns in the near future will become the only places with decent living conditions, for instance, filtered air and consumable water, let alone mobility or cultural infrastructure, whereas the countryside will increasingly deter due to numerous environmental disasters. Rural areas will become the garbage deposit of the metropolitan areas, whereas vegetable and greens will be cultivated in infrared greenhouses within the towns and meat will be produced in vitro. Living in towns will become a feudal privilege for the few in the middle of devastated landscapes for the many. Let's assume that the counter-narrative, the often described Landflucht trend, including slow food agriculture and so forth, will not materialize. In this case, the emergence of towns as dominant political actors, but closed entities, with each having a slum for the Gesindel in their surroundings, will probably be decisive for shifts in the parliamentary and representative systems of today's Flächenstaaten, which all suffer from a substantial rural-urban voter divide. Current election data in Europe point to enormous cleavages between structurally weak and depopulated rural areas, in which it is hard to keep any infrastructure alive, and metropolitan areas of hipster towns dragging all the brains, wealth, and culture. The red and cosmopolitan Vienna, surrounded by turquoise rural Austria, or the eastern parts of Poland, in difference to the sparkling towns of Warsaw, Wrocław, or Gdansk, are examples for this. Studying the political connection between regions and Europe is the core idea of our research project RegioPal at Danube University, which you can visit in the internet. With the RegioPal project, we have collected regional politicians' worries about some developments, demonstrating their huge awareness of phenomena like brain drain, emigration, and regional inhabitants to cities and regions falling behind their dominant metropolises. The Gilets jaunes in France are precursors for land uprise against the cosmopolitan citizens in the towns, and it resembles to La Vendée, the peasants' uprising of 1793 to 1796 against the troops of the First French Republic, causing some 30,000 deaths. The both deindustrialized and depopulated areas of the UK, the US, Poland, or France, and elsewhere are the fertile soil for national and populist forces. The political question is thus obvious. Might we see a process in which the towns segregate from the rural areas? May we experience the end of the Flächenstaat? May we see a development in which the citizens of the towns and those of the regions don't vote together any longer, as the cleavages between them cannot be bridged any longer? Or worse, in which the rural people are outlawed and don't vote at all? A state in which citizens' rights are only for those who are living in towns. This may sound both horrible, dystopian, and not possible at all to you. Yet the task of a keynote is to provoke. Therefore, I would like to touch upon Giorgio Agamben's Homo Sacra theory of sovereignty, in which he is peeling out sovereignty of the state context and reframing it as right to ban. Those are sovereign who have the right to ban others, with, as forecasts predict, some 70% of people that will be falling out of the classical production process due to the algorithm society. The question is whether these people will also fall out of the political deliberation process, which would be a way for the meritocratic elites in the towns to secure their own metropolitan well-being. Concepts like unconditional basic income, which is already a huge movement in Europe, step in here. Yet, feeding economically superfluous people does not mean to grant them political rights. Agamben's Homo Sacra is the man who is worthless but cannot be killed. He is simply banned, meaning kicked off the political process, which in digitalized times is even easier to do. Banning people online is very cheap in the smart world. Who is not on the platform of the towns, say, who is excluded from Clubhouse, is somehow non-existent in political terms. As the post-pandemic world has moved into a two-dimensional sphere anyway, it is very easy not to see all the analog left behinds, all the postmodern Homo Sacras living or starving outside of the towns, and their fancy home office or homeschooling streets. In conclusion, before I leave the floor, this is obviously not the town of the European Republic I wish to see. But we probably have a lot of work to do in order to fix, in a creative way, the rural-urban relationship before it turns politically nasty in Europe. In our research project at Danube University, we developed a map in which we placed 52 economically most important towns of Europe, all integrated directly into the global value chain. With an algorithm, we arranged that all these towns get, in numbers, the same amount of population surrounding the town. Some towns, who are lighthouses in the depopulated areas, have a lot of surrounding space. Some others have small territories because of the density of population. What you see in this map is a Europe with 52 areas who cover more or less evenly the European territory. The idea is that each town of the European Republic gets entirely responsible politically and economically for its surroundings and the people living there, making sure that each town in Europe has the political burden for the same amount of countryside people. The towns, in a way, become the new state entity as it was in the Middle Ages. These 52 areas could become the pillars of a very different political representation system in Europe, featuring a horizontal network of regions encompassing the nation-state borders, which each of them having an important town at their centerpiece. These towns could deploy modern techniques of citizens' participation, digital agoras, or citizen assemblies, which anyway cannot properly function in Flächenstaaten. This is just one fancy idea. Many other solutions are possible to keep democracy and rights for all citizens alive in the European Republic without bans and without outlawed. If I made you curious, come and visit our website. Many thanks for your attention.
I have to thank you, political scientist Ulrike Guérot. Thank you so much. And I will switch now into entspannte Zweisprachigkeit. Und ihr habt es eben schon gehört im Stream. Ich wollte unbedingt vom Tresen aus moderieren und das nicht nur, weil die Süßigkeiten-Schale steht, sondern weil ich jetzt noch einen zweiten Zoom-Gast begrüßen darf. Pia Steinbrücke, Sozialdezernentin hier in Lüneburg, kandidiert gerade für das Amt als Oberbürgermeisterin und ist hier als Repräsentantin der Stadt. Denn, Ulrike Guérot, du hast etwas vorbereitet. Haben wir Pia Steinbrücke schon im Zoom?
Ja.
Hallo zusammen.
Hallo, moin. Ulrike Guérot.
Ja, also ich freue mich total, dass das so spontan möglich war. Ich hoffe ja sehr, ich habe meinen Vortrag extra schriftlich ausgearbeitet, auch mit Fußnoten und so weiter. Und ich hoffe, dass man Ihnen das geben kann, weil ich tatsächlich mit diesem Vortrag Città della Repubblica d'Europa etwas machen wollte, nämlich Europa von unten und die Städte in dem europäischen Integrationsprozess aufwerten. Ja? Und das reale Anliegen, was ich habe, ist, dass ich schon viele italienische Städte für meine Idee gewonnen habe und die nennen sich jetzt Città della Repubblica d'Europa. Und die haben tatsächlich über ihre Ortseingangsschilder so ein kleines Schild geklebt, Città della Repubblica d'Europa, und haben eine Webseite dazu gemacht. Und jetzt haben die mich natürlich gebeten, du musst uns jetzt die erste Stadt in Deutschland finden, die auch Città della Repubblica d'Europa werden möchte. Da habe ich mir gedacht, wenn ich jetzt schon diesen Vortrag halte in Lüneburg auf einer Zukunftskonferenz, bietet sich die Stadt Lüneburg geradezu an.
Ja, das stimmt sogar, dass sich das geradezu anbietet. Vielen Dank für Ihren Vortrag. Ich bin ja recht kurzfristig eingeladen worden, finde aber die Idee total spannend. Und bin auch in einer Arbeitsgruppe zu der Frage Leading Second Cities. Wie gehen wir eigentlich mit den Leading Second Cities in Metropolregionen um und eben in Flächenstaaten, um diese zu stärken? Um eben das ganze Thema von Nachhaltigkeit, Klimaziele erreichen, Teilhabe, also eben gerade die Frage, wie erreichen wir auch die Schwächsten, da gut zentral organisieren zu können. Ich glaube, im ersten Schritt, und da sind wir schon bei, wir sind mit einer österreichischen Stadt Pölten dazu im Gespräch, wie können wir uns da vor allem erstmal vernetzen und austauschen. Und das wäre ja mal ganz interessant, das mit diesen italienischen Städten zu tun und zu fragen, wie setzen die das um? das auf dem Schild zu haben, ist schön, aber was heißt das eigentlich inhaltlich? Und das finde ich eine spannende Frage und da würde ich gerne Kontakt auch aufbauen wollen.
Ja, super. Also wenn Sie St. Pölten gesagt haben, die Donau-Uni ist ja in Niederösterreich. Das heißt, wir sind ja sozusagen die offizielle Universität von Niederösterreich. Also nach St. Pölten könnte ich auch einige Kontakte herstellen. St. Pölten hat sich auch beworben, um europäische Kulturhauptstadt zu werden. Das hat leider letztes Jahr nicht geklappt. Aber die Idee, dass die Stadt wichtiger wird, habe ich ja versucht, in diesem Vortrag auszubuchstabieren. Und ich glaube, dass einfach verschiedene Sachen zusammenkommen. Genau das, was Sie sagen, die Inklusion, die Teilhabe und so weiter, auch der Schwächeren und diese ganzen neuen sozialwissenschaftlichen Formate der Bürgerversammlung und diese ganzen Geschichten, die kann man ja eben in einem Flächenstaat nicht richtig machen. Ja, dann wird das ja sofort so ein polarisierendes Referendum und dann kommt am Ende der Brexit dabei raus. Ja, aber wenn man jetzt sozusagen verschiedene Städte hat, die eben Agoren machen und dann sozusagen dieses Europäische umdreht, also nicht mehr Europa von oben nach unten und alle sind irgendwie gegen die EU, sondern alle Städte machen von unten Europa und vernetzen sich horizontal, dann wird da ja ein anderer Schuh draus. Und das ist so ein bisschen die Idee dieser Città della Repubblica d'Europa. Das sind halt Städte, die einerseits inklusive Ziele verfolgen, die eine diskursive Agenda haben wollen, die inklusiv sein wollen, die Klimaziele oder welche Ziele auch immer erreichen wollen, aber die sich zur Verwirklichung dieser Ziele eben nochmal in so ein horizontales Netzwerk begeben. Ja. Und die Idee ist dann einfach, dass ich das jetzt auch an den Deutschen Städtetag herantragen werde und auch an den österreichischen Städtebund. Und dass dann Städte ja natürlich Partnerstädte haben. Ich weiß gar nicht, mit wem Lüneburg jetzt verpartnert ist, aber dass man das wirklich wie so eine olympische Flamme von Stadt zu Stadt tragen kann.
Spannend. Ja, ich würde sagen, das ist doch gut, dass wir hier nochmal vermittelt haben und verbunden haben. Da würde ich sagen, bleiben wir auf jeden Fall auf dem Laufenden. Das ist hier bei Stadt Matchmaking. Vielen, vielen Dank für die tolle Idee und dass das auch nochmal geklappt hat. Sozialdezernentin Pia Steinbrücke und Politikwissenschaftlerin Ulrike Guérot. Vielen, vielen Dank euch beiden.
Dankeschön.
Ich danke Ihnen.
Und wir machen jetzt weiter mit einem kleinen Kurzfilm.
Warum brauchst du so viel Nähe? Bist du schwach? Warum gehst du diese Bindung ein, wenn du weißt, dass du ihr nicht gewachsen bist? Sind wir eigentlich selber schuld, wenn wir unglücklich sind? Warum fühlst du dich so klein?
I'm not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts.
Wieso spürst du Abweisung so viel stärker als Zuneigung? Hast du das Gefühl, in deinen Gedanken zu ersticken? Wieso kannst du nicht einfach zu dir stehen?
But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down.
Guck dich doch mal an, wie gut du bist, nur weil du hier stehst.
I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me.
Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me.
Another round of bullets hits my skin.
Fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in.
We are bursting through the barricades and
reach out for the sun. Yeah, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is Bruce, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. Look out, 'cause here I come. Marching on to beat our drum. Marching on, marching, marching on. To be seen, I'll make no apologies. This is me. Promise words wanna cut me down. I'm gonna set the floor, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is Bruce, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
So now the last thing that we have to do is to look at the next days. What is going to happen? First, tonight there's gonna be a talk with Maja Göpel and Richard David Precht on die Arbeit retten? Question mark. We are then going to start tomorrow. I'm very quick here. So we're at the Arbeit retten by now. And now let me see whether our weather card, maybe it's called weather card because
so our program forecast
is going on. Yeah, there we have him. That's Rob Hopkins, who we're gonna have tomorrow at a lunch show, and we're gonna have chicken, as we said already. And then what is gonna happen next? Let's see. That's Svenja Schulze, our Bundesumweltministerin, and she's gonna talk together with Uwe Schneidewind, who's the Oberbürgermeister of Wuppertal, on how cities can participate in stopping climate change. Yeah.
Exactly. And then in the evening again at 7 p.m. we will have another Utopie Studio about the very important question of how wealth and which role wealth spiels. This is the welche Role spiels wealth in our society. And for that we have den Wohlstand retten with Matthias, now I'm totally in this with Matthias Barth and of course Barbara Muraka. And fun fact, Matthias Hawks, I am a big fan of him and I wanted to meet him since I'm like 6 years old. So now this is the day. Then in the lunch show on the next day at 1 p.m. we will be greeting Claudine Niert and Bodo Ramelow in our studio and question whether everyone in the city can rule. Like alle ins Rathaus. And at 4 p.m. we will have a keynote with Michel Friedman talking about his book. So we're looking forward to that. And of course at 5 p.m. the Zukunftsstadtmagazin, where we talk about Das Rad bringt's as an example of the future.
And then we are going to have another Utopie-Konferenz in the evening, and that is all gonna be about the question of democracy, die Demokratie retten, Fragezeichen, with Kypra Gümsay and Sisi Leonard here. Yeah. And then on Friday, we will start another lunch show, and that is with Georg Dietz. And that really well fits what Ulrike Guérot just said, because she talked us about the Hanse, and with Georg Dietz we're going to talk about the new Hanse. And then there on Friday in the afternoon there's going to be Aminata, Touré and Aladin El-Mafalani talking about City for Everyone, Stadt für alle. And then it's Friday night.
And Friday night is the night when I wake up for the weekend.
Okay, that's another song for our playlist.
One thing I really want to do is a late night show.
Yeah.
And we finally made it happen. There will be a Leuphana late night show with Verena, and I will be there. We have Mitra Kasai welcome in our studio.
Yeah.
We will drink Eierlikör.
Probably.
Kindersekt or normal sect. And we talk about her program All Inclusive.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And we have some special guests as well in Leuphana Late Night Show. We have the Oscars of Lüneburg, the Salzkristall, so it's definitely worth it to go online.
Yeah, and that is the whole week. And now, what's left to say other than
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow at lunch.
Ich weiß, wie müde und verzweifelt du bist. Endlos dehnen sich die Stunden, unsere Kraft ist uns entschwunden. Ich weiß, wie das ist. Doch schlaf nur ruhig in meinen Armen und hör, was dir Mama erzählt. Von Träumen, die einst zu mir kamen, für Zeiten wie jetzt, wenn Hoffnung dir fehlt. Hör mein Lied, es bewahrt dir den Glauben an morgen. Hör mein Lied, es verleiht dir Vertrauen und Mut. Hör mein Lied, es erklingt gerade dann, wenn du deinen Weg verlierst. Hör auf das Lied, das dich singt. Es wird gut.
Kind, ich weiß, du zitterst und die Angst schleicht sich an. Aber glaub dran, was ich singe, glaub an all die schönen Dinge, glaub ganz fest daran.
Komm, schmieg dich nur in meine Arme und lass dieser Welt ihren Lauf. Ich schütze dich mit meiner Wärme. Ich weiß, es ist schwer, doch gib noch nicht auf.
besiegt die Sinnlosigkeit. Hör auf den Trost, den ich bring, er verleiht uns Kraft und Mut. Hör auf das Lied, das ich sing, und glaub mir, es wird gut.